Right there. Senator Tom Cotton will be among those questioning Mr. Ratcliffe after attending Hegseth's hearing yesterday, and he joins us live. Good morning to you, Senator.
Morning, Steve.
So let's talk a little bit about John Ratcliffe, for CIA director. He's not going to have trouble. He's been confirmed before.
No, Steve, I don't think so. As the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, I'll preside over John's hearing this morning. He's been the director of national intelligence. He and I agree that the CIA is vital for our country, but we have to get it back to its roots. It's simply not doing a good enough job collecting intelligence about our adversaries around the world. For instance, I don't think anyone in Washington anticipated that jihadi rebels were going to rampage across Syria and topple the Assad tyranny over Thanksgiving. That's the kind of failure we need to redress. We need the CIA focused on its core mission, not focused on things like climate change or whether an African country is going to pass gay rights legislation. I'm confident that John is going to focus on that job and get it done.
One of your colleagues, Marco Rubio, is going to be up for his confirmation hearing today. What sort of speed bumps do you think the Democrats are going to try to throw up in front of the senator from Florida?
Well, I think Marco will do a great job, not just at this hearing, but implementing President Trump's foreign policy. I suspect the Democrats will focus on some of their past differences. They did, after all, run against each other in 2016. But there's precedent for that. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton had a pretty tough race against each other in 2008, and she went to work for Barack Obama. But I think what Marco will lay out today is President Trump's plan to put America first, to make sure that we're advancing the interests of our own citizen and our own economy, not those of other countries. We wish every country well, but we obviously have to put our own citizens first. I suspect that's what Marco is going to outline today in his hearing.
Okay, so that is all today. Yesterday, as we look in the rearview mirror, you were actually one of the people who queried Pete Hegseth, one of our colleagues from Fox formerly, and you asked him about his qualifications and whatnot. After your line of questioning, I'm sure you remember this, the senator from the great state of New York, Senator Gillibrand, said, yeah, by the way, Tom Cotton, those questions were too easy. Watch this.
So specific to Senator Cotton's question, because Senator Cotton was giving you layups to differentiate between different types of combat. And specifically, as secretary, would you take any action to reinstitute the combat arms exclusion for female service members?
I've never disparaged women serving in the military. I respect every single female service member that has put on the uniform.
How dare you ask those easy layup questions, Senator?
Well, Steve, what I think Senator Gillibrand is upset about is that I was distinguishing carefully in an area where people often get confused. When they talk about women in combat, that's too broad. Women have been in combat for many years as pilots or mechanics or what have you. We're talking specifically about women in ground combat jobs like the infantry, the artillery, special forces. Those have irreducible physical demands. There's nothing that Pete Hegseth or Kirsten Gillibrand or I can do to make an artillery shell weigh less than 100 pounds or a tank round weigh less than 50 pounds or a fully grown soldier with full combat load weigh less than usually 250, even 300 pounds. We have to have high and gender neutral standards to ensure that our troops are going to be safe and they're going to be fit to fight. But the Democrats would rather impose quotas or goals to make sure we have an arbitrary number of women or other ideals in our infantry, our artillery, our special forces, as opposed to focusing on fighting effectiveness. That's what I laid out. That's what Pete Hegseth will do as Secretary of Defense. I thought he did a great job. I know you're proud of him as a former colleague and as a friend. I commend him for a great job. Indeed.
Exit question. Are you surprised at how it looks like all these nominees are going to be confirmed? And for the most part, there aren't any real roadblocks in their way.
No, Steve, I'm not. I mean, we do, after all, have a 53-seat majority in the Senate. And if you want to take a little trip down memory lane, going back to the Clinton transition, for 72 cabinet secretary nominees, only two out of 72 have gotten a single vote against them by a senator from the president's party. and none of them have been defeated because of votes by senators from the president's party. Now, the past is not always prologue, but I'd say that's a pretty strong track record that dispels this liberal idea that Republican senators are somehow supposed to be voting against the Republican nominees of a Republican president. The Democrats didn't do that when Joe Biden nominated people like Pete Buttigieg or Alejandra Mayorkas or Deb Haaland, who clearly were not qualified for their jobs and who were total ideologues, as we've seen over the last 4 years.
All right. Tom Cotton joining us this morning. Thanks for starting your day with Fox and Friends. We know you got to go into the big town. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Thank you, Steve.
You bet.